Hi, my loves, and welcome back to...
Look.
Just look. I should have done the intro before you were here.
Should I step out?
No.
Okay,
You're
well.
fine. Hi, my loves, and welcome... Are you looking at me? And welcome back to Up On Your Side with me, your host, Sierra Boudreau, and also Hallie's here, in case you couldn't tell by that intro. Hallie's here. We're doing a little joint podcast episode today. I thought it'd be so fun. And we've been sitting here discussing. She's nervous. She's
I'm
like
so
tweaking
nervous.
about this whole thing. And I keep trying to tell her it's not that serious. The podcast girls are very chill and very fun and very casual. And yet...
Well, I am one, but I feel...
No, and you are one. You're
Next week I'm going to hear my own voice on this and be like, wow, that sounds so... So...
I sound so... No, and you are a podcast listener. You like tune in.
Weekly.
You're in.
Every Monday. Sorry, I'm not in the Sunday crowd, but I'm in the Monday one.
Shame her. Not in the Sunday crowd. So you're waiting a full 24 hours to hear my voice?
Well, we probably hung out on Sundays.
Okay. That's actually not the point. Let's get into it.
Okay.
This is going to be the most unserious episode I think I've ever done. I want to kind of turn towards you.
Okay, great.
So that we're...
We both
Does that... No, I know. We, like, instantly look at ourselves. The thing about us is we love a mirror. Love a mirror.
I've never met one I didn't like.
I saw this thing on Reddit as I'm on Reddit, and somebody was like, give me advice, you know, like the older women give advice to younger women, blah, blah, blah. And some people were saying, you know, don't be afraid to take pictures of yourself. Don't be afraid to look at yourself in the mirror. And I was like, I actually have never had that problem. I've actually never been afraid to take a photo.
I have never been scared to post a photo, take a photo, share the photo, send the photo directly to someone's inbox. Mm-hmm. I would buy a billboard if I had the money.
If I had the money to buy a billboard down the highway, like just a bunch of billboards actually down the highway, and it's just photos of myself.
And people are always like, Hallie, you post so well. I'm like, yeah, because I chronically take photos of myself.
Speaking of chronically, let's talk about... Actually, we have a couple things to talk about. We have a lot to talk about. Okay, first of all, before chronically, because we're going to get into how chronically online you... Actually, I want to start with that.
Okay,
How chronically online you are. And what's funny about it is that being online is my job. I should be more online. But you'll be like, oh, I saw this thing. Everyone's seen it. And I'm like, well, I haven't seen that. And
Chapel Roan, baby.
What?
The Chapel Roan, baby. Which
is crazy. I'd never experienced that in my life. I didn't know when that started, how that started, who that was.
I just know she's like 2 and redhead, and she wears glitter onesies.
That's really sweet.
It's cute.
I want a baby.
Okay. I'm going to support you on that journey.
I need to stop saying I want a baby because I'm going to manifest a baby. And just... No, we were saying completely different things. We were saying different things just now. No, I'm not thinking I should just do it.
I don't think you should just do it.
What would we do with a baby right now? What would we do? Where do we put it?
We wouldn't.
No, we wouldn't.
We'd have to call Rover. Layla probably is really good at...
We'd have to call Rover for the baby.
I don't know.
Can you do a couple drop-in visits for my child?
You can't... I don't know. Babysitting app?
No.
Care.com?
Well, and so that's the scary thing about, like, having a child when you don't live close to family or, like, don't fuck with your family. Where do you, like, get childcare that you trust?
So, funny thing about that
what do you have about that?
So, from the South, all my friends now have babies back home. Some of them multiple. And they're always... like talking about, well, I can't do this because we need a babysitter. My mom's busy. I remember being 15 years old with a driver's license, driving to someone's house to watch their 2 children. They did not care at all. They were like, you got it.
So true.
I'm like, I hope you get home before 10 because I have to be home before 10.
All of my church friends and I, like, we babysat. That was just how we made money and what we did. And it's like, oh, I need money. It's, oh, well, let me connect you with so-and-so. They need a sitter. And it's like, I don't know them. And also, I'm a minor. Like, I need a babysitter. Really.
I nannied. Nanny is a very loose term for this family one time. And it was like 3 kids, all under the age of 8, maybe. And one day, this woman comes in. And she's like, I'm their grandmother. I'm just here early. Like, they weren't really expecting me. And I was like, okay, yeah. I believe ya. And I walked out of this house.
Wait.
The mother texted me like 10 minutes later. It was like, hey, are you still at the house? And I was like, no, their grandmother came. She's like, who are you talking about?
No, ma'am.
Turns out it was actually the grandmother. And she was like, that is actually her. I'm sorry. I forgot.
No, that's terrifying.
Sitting in the Chick-fil-A like, oh, I just really messed up.
Like, I just handed over this child.
3 of them.
And that's why you shouldn't trust a child to watch a child.
No. I was barely older than her.
No, exactly. I used to babysit this baby, and I don't know her name anymore. What was her name? She was just really sweet and precious. But the family, they would go on their weekly date nights, and so I would watch every Sunday. After church, of course. I was a church girl.
Of course.
Had to be. So I would go over there and watch this baby, and she was, like, pretty fresh. She was maybe a year old, a year and a half, and I did, like, what do you do with a child that young? We just kind of sat and, like, ate snacks, and then we'd go in the backyard, and she'd, like, crawl around. I wasn't very good at my job.
I don't know either, because Kat watches kids now, and
But Kat's a grown woman.
I know, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to watch those kids.
No,
I can't watch them.
Me personally, I don't want to watch those kids, but I love that she does, and I'm sure she's good at it.
I'm sure she's great.
Some people are just good with kids.
And I don't think I'm bad. I just think I'm meant to be more fun than responsible with them.
I think that I'm good with kids that I have, like, an attachment to, and I know their backstory and their lore and what they like. Like, random kids, we don't have anything to discuss.
Well, true.
Like, even, like, 5-year-olds.
Yeah, I have a weird thing with kids and my relationships with them, because, like, it is so weird to me that my friends have children and I don't, and I don't want them, but they're having, like, multiples. It's a really talk to the whole therapist about it.
You don't want kids.
No, I want them. It's just like, why are you having them right now?
I thought you were saying, and I was like, I did not know that about you.
No, yeah, I want them later in life, but I'm just like, why are you having them right now and I don't have them?
And I don't. Where did you get that?
Like, why and why?
And why?
Why didn't you want to wait for me?
Like, well, exactly. It's kind of crazy, us both being from the South and, like, being in very different phases of life than our friends who still live in the South are. It's so crazy to see the way that their life progresses and the way that our life has been progressing. Like, some friends that I have from high school, college, whatever, are on their second baby right now. Like, trying for a third.
I have friends on their second marriage.
Well, oh.
That's just the tea.
And no offense to the second marriage.
No. Thank God you got out of the bad first one.
No, thank God, because the first one's kind of like a trial run. That's what they say.
That's what I've heard.
Not for me, I hope.
Not.
Well, knock on whatever we have to knock on, because that'd be kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But
Me and my man.
You and your man. But you've been manifesting, which is another thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
You got into manifesting.
Which leads into my vision I had.
Okay.
I think it's a manifestation.
So we need to get into first manifesting, which will lead us into the vision.
Yeah. Cleared my throat for that.
I just keep having to look. I'm like, am I covered? Like, do I look appropriate? Okay.
Well.
So manifesting. So we started talking about this not even that long ago. Well, we started talking about angel numbers.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And then, so what's happened since then? How are you feeling with your manifestations?
I'm not doing that great, but the very next morning, I did really well. Okay. I literally sat down and I was like, on my 29th birthday, you're sitting in Paris and you're feeling this way and these are your friendships and this is the boy that you're dating. I'm not dating anyone, so if y'all know anybody.
If y'all know anybody who is worth a damn, let us know.
It was great. And so since then, we've been having our little angel numbers trip, to which we sent back and forth like 12. It was in the spans of 12 minutes. It was crazy.
That was crazy.
And now I just feel it. Like you said something, and then maybe I was listening to something as well about, we're reading it in drinking games.
Yeah.
About you like manifest it and you write it down and you like envision it and then you just like let it blow away.
Yeah.
And that's just what I've been feeling.
Yeah.
I just feel a boy's coming in 3 days and then this vision I had on the way over here.
In 3 days.
That's just what I feel.
And it's like funny now, but it's going to be crazy when you're right.
It's going to be crazy on Saturday when I call you and I'm like, guess what I found?
Saturday?
I don't know. It's just 3 days from now.
No, you're going to be gone.
Oh, I can't find a boy in Dallas.
You can't find a boy in Dallas.
So Friday.
What would you do with a man in Dallas?
He'd move.
That's what I did.
Works for you.
It worked for me. I picked him up in Dallas and brought him on here. But everyone, when people ask how Alex and I met, I'm like, we met in Dallas and we moved to Denver. They're like, the Denver curse. Have you heard about that?
No.
The Denver curse apparently is where you move with a partner and then you guys break up once you're in Denver. And everyone loves to tell me about that. And I'm like, maybe y'all, but not me.
Maybe, keep that little information to yourself. I don't need to know that.
Because what am I supposed to do?
What? It's like when your friend's like, I saw your ex on Hinge. I don't care.
Respectfully and disrespectfully.
It is none of my business.
I don't give a fuck. One time I saw my own ex on Hinge. Well, okay, and we weren't even really exes. So, with my 2020 boyfriend / just the trauma of that all, we would break up often because he was a piece of shit and whatever, and then we'd get back together because, anyway, right, canon event. So we would break up, and then one time we broke up, and I was like, fuck it, I'm getting on Hinge, I'm gonna be crazy. Well, I girl boss too close to the sun.
Yeah.
Because I'm swiping, and I see him right there.
He was also being crazy.
And he was also being crazy. But the craziest part about this whole situation, I'm scrolling through his Hinge profile. There's photos of us together.
Why? Let's really quick sidebar. Men, if you're listening, get the girls off your Hinge.
Get the girls off your Hinge.
I don't want to see them. I don't care that that's your sister. I don't care that that's your stepmom. I do not care. I have seen so many where the first photo is them with a group of girls, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to see it. I'm glad you have female friendships. That's a different conversation. I don't want them on your Hinge.
I don't want them on your Hinge. And I don't want children on your Hinge unless that's your child. If you're letting me know, hey, I'm with child, love that.
Yeah.
Okay, be proud of your offspring. If you're just like, oh, this is my niece that I love and adore so much.
#fun uncle.
I'm like, I don't.
You're probably not that fun, and don't exploit your niece.
And don't exploit. Did she consent to being on your Hinge profile?
Put a heart over her face.
That newborn baby? Why are you promoting? Put a heart over her face. Protect children.
Get her out of here.
Protect the kids.
She does not want to be on your Hinge.
She doesn't at all want to be on your Hinge. She wants to be watching, what's that woman? Miss Rachel.
Miss Rachel.
And you knew. And you knew about Miss Rachel.
That is because I chronically have friends with children and not because I'm chronically online. I'm not on Miss Rachel TikTok.
Could you imagine? You're like, oh, I love Miss Rachel.
You should seek help for me.
No, we'd have to seek help. What were we were talking about Hinge, and then before that...
you were talking about your ex.
Oh, yes. And so saw the photos of both of us on there, and I screenshot, and I was like, you obviously can't. Like, you obviously can't do this. And then he was like, should we talk about it in person? And I was like, oh, we're back. We're back in a really sick and twisted kind of way.
Got him right back in there. Yeah.
Because I didn't know what was good for me back then.
And that is what happens when you're 21.
And that's what happens. And I'm not encouraging. If any of you guys are younger than 21, which I don't think I have a big under 21 audience. That just doesn't, I don't think I do, especially not on the podcast. But if any of you, also thinking about that, this girl DM'd me a while ago. And she's like, hey, I'm getting ready for my senior prom, and I'm looking forward to it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it completely escaped me that a teenager could be following me. Because I feel so removed from teenagers.
Yeah.
But when I was a teenager, I was following, like, women in their 20s. And so...
Yeah, I would love to know. Go back to and see who.
And see who I was following. But it definitely was, like, older girls.
Yeah,
older
cute
women.
ones that were dressing cute.
Yeah, the ones that were dressing cute. But the thing about that is that I feel like youth is being erased in a way that, like, I was telling you about this. I was at the mall a while ago. Not even a while ago. I'm at the mall too often for my own good. And I see some teenagers, some, like, young girls walking by. And why are we wearing the same outfit?
Yeah, and it's also kind of like, it's so interesting.
It's interesting.
Because the canon events we had when we were like 22, they're having it like 14.
They're having so young. And it's like, scary.
Girl,
but it's like they get online and they see us living our lives and they think they should be living their lives like that because they don't understand that the jump from being 16 years old and being 25 plus is like, it's astronomical. You need some life in between what I'm doing and what you're doing.
And I just remember being like 14. Gosh, I don't even know if I had an Instagram at 14. It was really young, but I remember my first Instagram post was a piece of toast with a fat piece of butter on top that said, Paula Deen would be proud of this.
Oh, that's kind of
And that's not what they're doing anymore.
That's not at all. And then using the Instagram filters.
Oh. The one that looked like a Polaroid that had like little nut was...
And being so serious about it.
And a Pixar.
And the hashtag MCM, Man Crush Monday.
Oh, and the 30-day little like post something you love and not post something purple and post your shoes.
And that was like a full-time job. Yeah. I was like, shut up. I need to get my Instagram.
I have to think really hard about what quote I want to post today.
What quote I want to post. And it has to be obscure enough to where people can ask me what I'm like, what's this from? Oh, my favorite book.
Yeah. It needed to be directly from Pinterest with a sunset in the background and purple and pink. I guarantee that quote's right now on my Hinge.
Could you start putting girl boss quotes on your Hinge?
And that may be the new thing.
And that may be the new thing. It's just Instagram has become something so entirely different than what it was when we first started. And part of me is like, okay, let the girls be girls and let them grow up at their own pace. Mm-hmm. But at what point are you like, you're a child, like a baby.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be doing those things or saying those things or liking those things. And the older I get, the more I'm aligned with the parents who are like, my kids can't have cell phones. I'm like, they can't.
Yeah.
My kids can't have cell phones. I'm sorry. You can have a pager.
Get them like those little fireflies.
I used to have a Firefly.
I didn't, but I wanted one so bad.
I had a Firefly because I needed one because nobody was ever home at my house. And so I would have to have one for safety reasons. And then when I'd go visit my dad in the summers, my mom and I would talk on my little Firefly, and I'd have to go buy more minutes.
That's so cute.
Isn't that crazy? And then I had a Razor.
Oh, I had a Razor. A pink one.
A pink Razor.
And then I skipped the little slide up phone, and I wanted it.
You didn't do it?
So bad.
I did the
No, I went
slide-up
straight
phone.
to a BlackBerry.
Oh, so you're rich as fuck is what I'm hearing.
Played ball breaker every single
Not
day.
the BlackBerry.
Oh,
the
yeah.
BlackBerry means business.
Oh, yeah.
The BlackBerry is like boss bitch status.
And what was I doing? Sending emails? No.
No. But that's the thing they market.
BBMing.
What?
BBMing.
BBMing?
BlackBerry Messenger.
Oh, I wasn't.
Well, you didn't have a BlackBerry.
BlackBerry. Because in my head, a BlackBerry was like a very adult phone.
It was like in the TV shows.
Well, because they marketed the BlackBerry as like, this is for emails. This is for people who want to get down to business.
I also had the QWERTY keyboard one, not the skinny one. I just want that to be
right.
public knowledge.
No, you had to let them know.
Uh-huh.
I did the slide-up phone.
I wish.
I was
because those were cunty.
They were cunty, and I remember the first time I saw a slide-up phone, it was Zoe 101. Remember when
Yes.
they had that whole episode
Yes,
about the
and
slide-up
she dropped
phones?
it in the water, and Chase was calling her to tell her he loved her. Yep.
Oh my god. That memory. I didn't even remember all that lore.
Chronically,
Like,
was watching
chronically.
TV back then too.
No, and I love Zoe 101.
Loved it.
I was researching boarding schools.
The way I saw boarding school as like this fantasy that I really needed to fulfill. Why?
Why? Your vision.
Okay.
Finally.
My vision. I texted my dad about this because he also has these hankerings sometimes, but I think mine is real.
Oh.
I was driving down the road just a second ago on the way over here. The fact that I almost missed our Cokes.
You almost missed our Cokes.
Because I was locked into this vision.
Okay, no, I'm very curious about this.
I just really think I'm about to win the Mega Million lottery. I just feel it.
The way?
In my heart.
Okay. All of the things I thought you might have said.
I know.
Winning the Mega Million lottery just wasn't at the top of the list.
And I texted my dad and he said, I'm actually at the gas station right now. I'll buy some. So that has to be serendipitous.
You think?
Kinda.
Okay. Did you get your tickets?
He bought. He said, should I get 10? I said, no, you should get 5. Because it felt right.
Oh, because it felt right.
Yeah.
Do you know your numbers?
I let the computer Jen.
You let the computer pick it. So you had this vision that you're going to win.
Yes. But it didn't tell me numbers. It just told me what my life was about to be.
Okay. And tell me about your life once you win the Mega Million.
Okay. So I'm assuming that the Mega Million right now is maybe like 300.
$300 million?
I think.
What would I do with $300 million?
Well, I would do lump sum because the government is not sparsing out my money to me over the next 10 years.
Sure.
So then you'd realistically get like 150.
Okay.
I'd give 10 to my brother, 10 to my other brother, 10 to my mom, 10 to my dad. And then I'm quitting my jobs.
Well, clearly.
I'm never going to work again.
Okay, so you're giving away 50 million?
40
million. The way that math did not even. I just said a number and hope it was right. Okay, so you're giving away $40 million.
40. And then I'm going to quit.
But you have to put it in some kind of trust or something.
Yeah, so I remember you saying that.
Uh-huh.
Because it was about the taxes and
About
like
the
all of that.
taxes.
So obviously you work with an accountant.
I do.
No, I meant like me when I win the Mega Millions.
Right.
I will work with an
I'll
accountant.
put you in contact.
Okay, great. Is he? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I would hop, skip, and jump to a plane. And good thing I know a private jet pilot.
I was like, who? And then I remembered.
Nope.
No?
Cheyenne, she's new.
Oh,
She's
she's
new in my life.
new.
She's new in my life.
Okay, new character.
And she's a girl.
And she's a girl.
Yeah.
Because the other one can't be. And he's not a private jet pilot, right?
He is.
Oh.
He just can't.
And we can't. And I wish him kind of the worst.
I wish him what he deserves.
As you say, I wish him whatever he gets.
Whatever he gets is what he gets.
Is
and that's
what he gets.
none of my business. But so I would hire her.
Okay.
And I would say, do what you want, girl, because I just want a private jet, and I need you to fly me wherever. And then I'd fly wherever.
Uh-huh.
And then I come home, and then, you donate to some charities.
Of course.
I have some people that, have started scholarships, so I donate to them.
Of course.
And then, I do what I feel inclined to do.
Okay, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You'd have so much money left over.
You know the people that have like $100 million?
I just can't conceptualize $100 million.
You know the people that are like, I just couldn't not work. I could.
I
could. So if that ever comes across their desk,
yeah,
hand it over to me, and I will not work for them. I mean, maybe one day I'd open like a coffee shop.
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna work in it. I'm just gonna be there.
Just to have it. I'd have to do something.
It would be a coffee shop / wine bar.
Okay.
No, it wouldn't.
No,
I'm rewording. It'd be the Bear. And let me tell you, rule number 1 is you don't repeat ingredients, and rule number 2 is you do a different dish every night.
Because you're in on the Bear now.
Uh-huh.
I'm so glad you're in on the Bear now.
And that's what I do. That's my new life.
Okay.
I call up Carmi.
Like an Airbnb idea that we started last night.
And then we could start an Airbnb.
We could start an Airbnb. But the thing about starting an Airbnb, it's like, who is that woman? What is her name? Jennifer? No, I don't think it's Jennifer Aniston, though. It's the one who has Aveline, the wine brand. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what that brand is.
It's a wine. It's like natural wine, which is whatever.
Goop?
Well, basically a Goop extension. But Aveline, I'm going to see who it's founded by. I'm pretty sure it's maybe, I don't think it's Jennifer Aniston now that I'm saying that. Who is the owner of Aveline? Cameron Diaz.
Oh, I had no idea.
Cameron Diaz and Catherine Power. I don't know Catherine Power.
I would need to see her face.
But we could be doing that. We could start like a wine brand or some kind of something where we're just like the owners of it, but we don't really have to deal with the day-to-day.
Yeah, and the great thing is I know sommeliers.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Do you have them on speed dial?
Retainer.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. So she'll know what to do. She's a girl too.
Okay.
Female.
I love that. Yeah. A female-backed business. Okay. Well, I'm so glad. I can't wait for you to win. Would you tell me?
You would know.
I would.
You wouldn't either.
No, I'd know.
You wouldn't have
I'd know
to guess.
immediately.
You would know.
I'd know so quick.
The moment I'm like, Sarah, what are you doing this weekend? You're like, nothing. We're literally going to do whatever you do.
Yeah.
Great. Don't pack a bag. We're literally going to my PJ.
Oh, don't pack a bag. We'll shop there.
We'll shop there.
And that's the level of wealth that I'd like to achieve one day. I don't need to pack a bag. I'll shop there. I'll get whatever I need.
Yeah. And we're only going to go for like 2 days.
Yeah.
We'll be in a PJ.
Yeah. Quick. Our PJ. No big deal.
Like, oh, do you want to go eat at Noma? Because I just booked us a little resi.
A little.
For tomorrow.
I just called in to see if they had anything open, and naturally they did.
And they did. I booked out the whole restaurant.
Oh, can't wait. Did I tell you about that time? I think I did. That time I went on a date with that guy, and he rented out the restaurant for our date? No? Oh my God. No. Okay, his name. Oh, I can't say his name. I was like, well, his name. Let me give you
his address, his birth certificate number.
Well, this man was insane. I'll tell you that. So we meet on. How old was I? This was Christmas 3 years ago. Okay. So I was 22.
Okay.
And. Well, we met before Christmas, but around that time. It was cold. It was chilly in Dallas, setting the scene. And we meet on Hinge or Bumble, one of the two. Sure. And he was cute. I feel like the men in the South are just cuter. That's just kind of my opinion. They're cleaner. They look like they have it together. And so I swiped on him. And I sent him a little something witty, as I do. What's the next part of the story? We go on a date. He asked me on a date. And well, at first he was like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Come over. Like pulling that kind of thing. And I was like, I'm not coming over.
No.
Like, you're going to take me on a date. And boy, did he. So here's the kicker. He was like, I will meet you there. I'm going to Uber. And I was like, well, why is it that you're Uber? Why won't you drive me? He was like, well, I got a DUI. And I should have known in this moment. As soon as he said that, I was like, no, I should back away from this kind of situation. But I didn't. I went. So we go to this restaurant. There's no one else in the lot. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's like a slow night, whatever. I walk in. There's one table set, and there's 2 chairs around the table.
This is coming back to me.
Yes. No one else is in there. He walks in, and I was like, oh, Lord. Oh. No, that he's wearing like an outfit, like dress pants and nice shirt. And I'm looking nice, as I do. But I wasn't expecting all of this. Yeah. The waiter comes over. He starts speaking to this man in Italian. The man starts speaking back in Italian.
It's like not actually Italian. They just made up their
And
own language.
they could have made it up because I don't know a lick of Italian. I don't know what they were talking about. But he's ordering blah, 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 blah. And then we're like having this conversation. I was like, either we're getting married or this is about to be the worst situationship of my entire life. And here's the kicker. It was neither. Really, it wasn't even that serious. But he's talking about his ex. Well, he's talking about a lot of stuff. Before he talks about his ex, he's talking about his dad. His dad, very sadly, had recently passed away. And so I'm, listening to that, asking questions about that, whatever, talking. And he's like, and I just I'm really in a hard position right now. I don't know what to do because he's leaving me all these cars and I don't know where to put him and I don't know how to get all of his estate stuff in order. And I was like, personally, I don't,
can't relate.
I don't have that problem. I don't have anyone leaving me a bunch of luxury cars, but I empathize. Yeah. I empathize with you, my king.
My heart is with you.
And my heart is with those cars. And my heart is with that inheritance. Yes. That's so insensitive. I should not have said that. That was awful. Anyway. So he's telling me about that, and I was like, peace be with you, whatever. And then he's like, my ex. And with your spirit. We love the Catholic Church. So he's telling me about his ex, and he's like, she's crazy, she's a bitch, blah, blah. And I was like, you still love her, true or false? And he's like, well, we broke up, not that long ago. And I was like, well, how recent was not that long ago? He's like a month. And I was like, okay, so be honest this time. He's like, a couple weeks. And I was like, right.
Yesterday.
I hear what you're saying.
They texted this morning.
And no, on the way over here, when he was in the backseat of the Uber, because he has his DUI, miss you so much, hope you're well.
I made
that up.
Oh.
I don't know if that actually. I'm just assuming that's probably what happened. Christmas is coming up. My mom was asking if you're coming this holiday season.
Wish you were.
And it's wish you were. And anyway, so that's probably what was going on. Well, he's on the way to the rented out restaurant for our date. And so I go to the bathroom. We're about to leave. And he's like, do you want to come over? I have a record collection. And I was like, you want to sleep with me?
Yeah.
And
he puts on Frank Sinatra.
No, quite literally. We're going to get there. I was like, I'm 22. I'm free. I'm young. And I feel decently safe. So I'm going to go.
Sure.
I'm right. And I should. Knowing what I know now about men, men TM, whatever. I went. So, but before that, I go to the restroom. There's no one else in the restroom. So I'm living my life, whatever, taking my time. I'm washing my hands. He opens up the door.
Sir.
And he's like, hey, I'm going to run into the restroom. I just didn't want you to think I disappeared. And I was like, okay, be right out.
Glad you're hygienic. Glad you knew that.
Glad I'm hygienic. Also, glad I didn't pee with the door wide open. Because what if he came in and I was just sitting there peeing?
Yeah.
And then where's the mystery in that?
You're on the phone just talking
I'm talking shit. And I'm like, this is the worst that I've ever been on. The food was bad. His Italian was bad.
It's not even speaking real Italian.
No. Meanwhile, I'm in the bathroom. I just met my husband, the love of my life. I would do anything for him. I was so starstruck in this moment.
Yes. And that's, yeah.
What else was I supposed to do? Yeah. And so we leave. I drive. I have to.
It's really just the universe throwing direct signs at your face. And you're just...
And I'm like, I can't see them. I'm like, oh, this is so funny and silly.
Right back over.
We go to his apartment. He's showing me his record collection. He's like, yeah, my dad, left a bunch of these to me. Pulls out Frank Sinatra.
Of course he does.
Puts it on. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. Unfortunately,
He's one step away from pulling out a guitar and strumming along.
I thought you were going to say a gun. I don't know if I thought you were going to say a gun. And I was like, well, no.
I want to say this, but you're not online enough to know. This sounds just like the Brooke Schofield, Clinton Kane.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to.
I don't know about that.
It's fine.
But
long.
He doesn't pull out the guitar. He doesn't. And I don't think we sleep together. I can't remember. Yeah. I can't remember. I don't think that we, or maybe we did.
Probably
it was
just
so
had a
long
glass
ago.
of wine.
Probably.
He popped up in a bottle of 1900
75. Whatever he pulled out. Oh my God, could you imagine he pops a bottle of Dom?
I mean, I would have looked past every red flag.
That would have been over the top. And I can't, I'm racking my brain. I'm like, did we sleep together?
If you did, it wasn't memorable.
Because it is kind of, I guess it wasn't, because I'm trying to remember, because we did sleep together at some point in our couple week situationship, but I'm trying to remember if it was that first night or not. I don't think that it was, because I do distinctly remember when we did sleep together. I think we only slept together once. In the background was that movie with Zac Efron and Miles Teller, that awkward moment. And basically, if you're familiar, it's like a bro comedy, and the whole premise is one of the men has like this situationship that he's trying to break up with, and then one of the other and then one of the other guys, no, it wasn't the first night, because I remember like the trauma leveraging itself through my body. No. So, and then one of the other guys is in this long-term relationship, and then they're breaking up. And so like we're sleeping together, and I'm like hearing this movie. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually
Again, the universe,
but also probably just him
directly from him
being like, we're gonna do this, but while we do this,
I need you to know,
keep your ears open. I need to know this is it. And then after that first date, I do sleep over, but I don't think we sleep together. We wake up and he's like weird in the morning, and I was like, oh, no, I'm gonna go. And he was like getting ready for work. I don't know why I wasn't getting ready for work. Or maybe it was a court case. He had something he had to do. Whatever it was. And he was like, oh, well, I mean, I guess I can walk you to your car. And I was like, well, mind you, I don't know my way around your apartment building. Yeah. So I would really prefer. And he's like, well, hold on. He pours himself a bowl of cereal. And he's like leaning over the counter. Your Lucky Charms
can wait.
No, it can wait. He's leaning over the counter, just like eating his bowl of cereal. And I was like, whatever magic, whatever spell you put on me last night. But I did keep seeing him for a little bit. It's like
Gonzo, but I know what you can do. So let me hold on to this a little bit longer.
And then I think it ended because he was like, I kind of want to be back with my ex. Oh my God, we were on like our third or fourth date or something like that. We're sitting at this restaurant. Not even a great restaurant. This very casual. We're at the local Chipotle, sitting there eating, and he like starts going on this whole tangent about his ex and blah blah blah. And he's like, I just like don't want to lead you on because I think that maybe there's still something there. And blah blah. And I was like, you don't have to. We can just end it. Like it's really not. It's not that serious. And he's like, well, I thought you were gonna be upset. And I was like, there's not a single reason for me to be upset. You have so much baggage going on right now. And you haven't mentioned therapy one time. So I think it's the right time for me to see myself out. So that ended. He wasn't my husband or the love of my life.
Well, that's one thing too, in the same vein, is like if there's girls on the profile, we mix those people. Really pay attention to how people talk about their exes.
You have to pay attention.
Really pay attention to that.
Because exactly. No, exactly.
And you can talk about them if you feel the need, but like how they talk about them is, because in what realm is this girl or boy that you really once cared about? Why do you feel the need to like now talk such mad shit about them?
Yeah,
because you did care about them.
Because you did.
So.
And now
talk mad shit with your friends. Don't.
The minute a man to my face calls an ex crazy, a bitch. Once he pulls out a bitch, I'm like, oh, we have to wrap it up. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's over. It's done. Like,
what'd she do?
What'd she do?
And more importantly, what did you do to make her feel that way?
And most importantly, whatever she did, I'm on her side. I'm with her.
Yep.
And you know what? I'll probably do the same thing.
I'll do the same thing.
I'll do it. And that's just that. And I wish her the best, and I wish you whatever you get.
And I wish you whatever you get.
But her, I want her to win the Mega Millions.
And I hope somewhere whoever's dating my ex right now is saying that about me.
Is saying that about you, manifesting that for you. Yeah, somebody probably said that sarcastically one day and set the universe into motion. And now you're gonna win the Mega Millions. And can't wait till you win.
I mean,
it's gonna be the best.
I'm gonna come back to this episode and go.
We're gonna record a follow-up episode.
I'm gonna go, guys. I'm not confirming, but
confirming, but I did just buy a private jet.
I did just quit all my working. I will never work a day in my life.
My working. Because if you put that money in the market, it'll just work for you.
Yeah.
That's the thing about being mega wealthy.
And I'm like, you think if I blow $100 million, I need to go seek help.
But I could blow $100 million.
Well,
the way I'm on Amazon.
I thought you might say Zillow.
And the way I'm on Zillow.
You would have been moved by now.
The way I would have a house in every state.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
No, like I'd have so much property. Like Taylor Swift. She has so much property.
Well,
And I just want to go to one of her houses.
Just one.
And see what it's like in there.
And you know what? Somewhere someone's thinking that exact same thing, but they're plotting how to break in.
And that's awful. That man that slept in her bed, do you remember that?
No.
You didn't hear about that?
No.
A man broke into her house like a bunch of times, like a good 15 times, something like that. Slept in her bed.
A young man?
I don't know his age or demographics. Oh. But yeah, slept in her bed. And that's really freaky. I'd sell the house.
Weird.
And now that I'm saying this, I'm like, was it Taylor Swift or was it Kendall Jenner that happened to?
Or was it Kim?
Or maybe, no, it wasn't Kim. I think it was either Kendall or Taylor Swift.
Either way, that's just
like, that's gross and just so awful. And also I'm thinking, like, where was the security?
Yeah.
You know? Because
Not one alarm went off?
Not one alarm went off. And the police didn't get there super quick. Just like, hey, there's been a break-in at billionaire Taylor Swift's home. Can we send somebody over?
Yeah.
Like, long enough for him to sleep in her bed? Nobody was there? Fucked in the head, as they say. Not okay. All right, you do you.
Yeah, like, that's weird.
No, that's weird. People are kind of strange sometimes. They'll just, no, and we need to talk about that. Strange behavior. Let's talk about, actually, strange behavior in female friendships. But I think we should talk, like, people ask about friendships all of the time, and they're like, I have such a hard time finding good female friendships, blah, blah, blah. And I would say, and we've talked about this, the first time something is weird or off, it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Because it'll just bubble and fester, and then before you know it, that girl is actually not your friend. She is your biggest op.
Yeah, and if you don't just address at the beginning, like, you're sitting there ruminating on it, and the person that you're ruminating against probably has not 1 ounce of a clue that you're sitting there wasting your hours.
Not 1 ounce.
This fight.
Not 1 ounce. But friendships, I think, not to discount that friendships can be really challenging. Yeah. I think that they can. And I think that sometimes it is work and intentionality and just like effort. But I also think that there's a difference between a friend that you're really close to and a friend that you connect with and somebody who, like a codependent friendship, where you genuinely feel like enmeshed with the other person and you can't function individually. I think that's where the problems really start also. And a lot of our problems stemmed from something that I would expect Alex to do or something I would expect just, you know, someone in that caliber to do for me, they wanted from me. And I think that balancing my own individuality in other friendships and Alex, I was like, I can't do that for you. I can't be that for you. And it made me feel really bad because I was like, am I just a bad friend?
Yeah. No, not you are. But like, I feel that because we talked about this yesterday too. This was obviously in a romantic setting, but
love is the easy part. Yeah. But the effort and the care and the
intentionality
and seeing the best in each other is like kind of the harder part.
Yeah, and when you get into friendships that they need too much or they aren't really seeing it as a friendship, but like this weird placeholder that. Because they want these relationships romantically, they're not getting them, so they're pouring into these friendships. It's like this weird, I don't know how to give you what you want because I'm trying to like be your friend and you're not really trying to be mine because you're trying to like fill this weirdness that you feel like you're missing.
Exactly. You like are operating from this place of lack and this place of like, and the thing about situations like that is these are the same people who once they actually do get a partner, their friendships start going out the window and start shifting because they didn't really want friends. They wanted a partner and now they have that.
Yeah. To which I have been both sides of this coin.
Yeah.
I've been a bad friend and recognized that, and I've also been a good friend and like had that done. So friendships are weird and interesting and tough.
Part of being a good friend is once having been a bad friend and having a good friend tell you you're being a bad friend. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people walk around with a lot of tension and resentment for their friends because they aren't willing to be like, hey, you're being a bad friend, and because I love you, I want to work through this.
Yeah.
And so that conversation isn't happening. So bad friends just keep being bad friends. And like you were mentioning earlier, they're walking around thinking, oh, this is fine because no one's calling them out on it or holding them to a higher standard. And so what I've learned is a lot of people don't actually like their friends. Sad.
When I first moved here, I had this really big problem because I'm from the South, went to school in the South, went to school with a bunch of friends that I'd had since like middle school. So I never really had to make friends or make new ones. Like I would just be, and then you're forced into situations like they're in your class or they're in your sorority or they're in this extracurricular that you're doing.
Okay, as you were saying.
Okay. So you grow up in these situations where like friendships are really easy because it's like who's right there and who's most common to you. But when you get become an adult and you have to make these friendships that you're probably not going to make them at work because you're probably working with 45-year-olds or you're working from home and you're not going to be friends with them. You have to start searching them out, which is hard in general. And then you find these people that are essentially strangers to you. And this is what I did when I first moved here is I cultivated this version of myself that I knew this friend group would like.
Yeah.
And so I was like making everything up, and it was really hard to continue growing in a friendship with them because everything that they really knew about me was not me. It was all a mirage of like who I thought they wanted me to be. Like they really wanted me to be this camper girl, or they wanted me to be good at snowboarding, or that's just basic line things. But like even little tiny things, like I would just make them up.
Yeah. Or it's like your friends are like, oh, I love this song, and you've never listened to this artist, and you're like, oh, I love this album.
Like I'll go to this all the time. I'm like, I actually hate this. And y'all don't know anything about me because I didn't tell you anything, and that's on me. So when that friendship obviously fizzled out because I wasn't who I really was, I then met y'all and became friends with this friend group that from the moment I became friends with y'all, I was like, I'm about to be exactly who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And like, that's just who I am. And so that way it's a lot easier. So if girls are trying to make friends, maybe don't try to fit in. Maybe just find some friends that you already fit in with. Because it's so much easier to like have hard conversations with people when friendships are going awry, when you've been who you're going to be for the whole time of the friendship.
Exactly, when you're not just switching up.
Yeah.
I think that from your earlier point, in grade school, throughout college, you're kind of given friends because you're in these situations where you kind of united over a common interest, a common location, a common whatever. A lot of my friends from college were in my sorority, or if they weren't in my sorority, they were in a sorority, so we could bond over that. Or we were in the same major, or we lived in the same dorm. We were kind of like thrown into a friendship in that way. And after that, you don't get situations like that unless you're joining different clubs or whatever. Like I met Hannah through our spin studio. So I guess it was a situation where we met and like became friends through a shared interest, but that's not happening a lot of the time.
Yeah, no.
I think about my Pilates studio, and I don't have friends from my Pilates studio. I have like people I see in class that I chit chat with, but the norm of like going to a fitness studio or any kind of thing like that and actually making a good friend is actually not normal at all.
Yeah. And I think something we also need to normalize in friendships is sometimes they can just be friendships. Like they don't have to be your best friend. And that's okay. They can just be the girl that you get drinks with or you go out with or you see at Pilates. Like they don't have to be your best friend. And that's also something that I think a lot of people try to force into things.
Yeah.
It's just because y'all do this one thing together doesn't mean y'all have to be besties.
And y'all don't have to be. And I think that that's why a lot of people end up in friendships or situations with people they don't really connect with, or they don't feel themselves around, or whatever it may be, because everyone is so desperate for that best, especially in adulthood, that best friend, that person that maybe you had in high school or you had in college, and now y'all don't live in the same place. And so while that's still one of your very, very best friends, it just, you're searching for that in closer proximity.
Yeah.
And I think I am definitely guilty of this, or I have been in my past, where there's been women who I connected with, I guess in some way, and I was myself around them, but I never really felt like fully myself, or I never felt like I could fully show up in certain situations, but I was like, that's my best friend. And what I learned through a lot of those situations is that time spent is not best friendship.
Yeah.
Time spent can just be time spent. You can spend a lot of time with people and be wasting your time, or you could be lying, or you could be uncomfortable, whatever. And that doesn't mean that just because you guys spend so much time together that y'all are actually close at all.
Yeah, what's that called? The same theory where you don't break up with your boyfriend because you spend so much time.
Oh my God. Yes. What is that called? Time.
I thought it was time paralysis.
Lost time. Something.
Anyway,
But they're gonna know what we're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about, where you feel like you've invested so much time to something, and so you're like, if I give up now, then I've wasted all that time, so I might as well just keep going. It happens a lot when people want to get engaged. It's like, well, we've been together for 8 years, and we might not get engaged for another 2 years or 3 years, but if I stay, then at least I haven't wasted all of that time, because then I'll just have to start over. And I mean, I understand that sentiment, and it must be really, really hard, but what a waste of time to stick in something that doesn't actually like feel good.
Yeah.
And that's hard. But I think that people do that in friendships and relationships. And I think that with female friendships, especially when you live in a place like Denver or just like a major transplant city, can feel so difficult, because it seems like either everyone already has people and you don't know how to fit in, or you're putting yourself out there and you're just not really connecting with anyone. And so that feels really draining. And then you make friends, really, really good friends, and then everyone's moving because it's a transplant city. Don't look at me like that, because you're coming with me and it's going to be fine. It's going to be so fine.
It's gonna be fun.
We're gonna love LA. Oh, not me just dropping my own secrets on the pot. Well, we'll see, girls, because I'm saying it now, but life changes. But we're gonna love wherever I force you to move with me.
I just want to live on the water.
Yeah, we have to live by the water
in a city that's just different.
That's different. And we were talking about this last night. The Denver is just not, I think, where either of us are going to thrive long term. I think that both of us gained a lot from living in Denver and have grown a lot here. But I think that ultimately it's just not a place where we could like settle down or stay super long term.
Yeah, and I've always said like Denver is something for now. It's not going to be
not forever. And it doesn't have to be forever. Yeah. I think that that's something that we've talked about before. Like, just because something isn't forever doesn't mean that there's not value in it.
Yeah.
And I would never say that moving to Denver was a waste of time, even though it's not where I see myself settling. It gave me a lot.
Yeah. This is my first city to move, like, away from home. I went to Memphis, but that's, like, 3 hours from my house. Yeah. So, first one to move, like, far away and figure it out. And sometimes that came with me booking a very expensive flight home because I was sad. But, you know, sometimes it's also like, how do you know if you can get through something until you put yourself in a situation where you're really forced to get through it?
Yeah.
And that's what Denver was.
Where you have like no other choice but to just figure it out. And I think those situations in the moment feel like, what the fuck? Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? And then one day you realize, oh, I did.
Yeah.
And it's just a combination of those small choices that you make, those small decisions that you make, and putting yourself out there, and then learning when you put yourself out there and there's no benefit or reward or goodness in it, and then pulling yourself back and trying something else. It's all of that. And I think that sometimes we look at people, especially online, because we're such a chronically online society, but we look at people online and they seem to have the best apartment and the coolest group of friends and the hottest boyfriend and the most successful job, and we're like, how did they do that? That feels so unattainable. And then you don't realize that that's actually a lot of work, but a lot of very small, very intentional decisions to get there.
Yeah, the 1% a day thing. That is interesting, because it is really easy to look at someone online and be like, God, she's perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's looking at someone else online and saying the same thing, and then they're looking, and then it goes on forever.
Well, everyone wants to be someone. Yeah. Is the whole thing. It's, you know, if only I had this, or if only I did that, or whatever. And I think that that's really prominent, kind of back to that original topic of like in friendships, where you see people in new places, or like they just moved and then they find this really good group of friends. You're like, how the fuck did they do that? Like, how did they meet people and connect with people? But I have it over there, and it says, you have not met all the people who are going to love you yet. And that really got me through when I was going through a big friend transition, whether it was like post grad or when I was moving, whatever, just reminding myself that there are infinite chances to meet people and love people and connect with people. And just because everyone doesn't feel like your soul sister, your like your twin, your everything, doesn't mean that there's not goodness and value in that friendship.
Yeah, because like I met y'all, well, I met you through Hannah, and then Hannah through a friend, and a friend of 4 friends back who now I'm not friends with. But had not, you know, just put myself out there and like DM'd a girl on Instagram, I'm pretty sure that's what I did, then I wouldn't have met anyone. And if I would not have said yes to when Hannah was like, do you want to meet up with this girl, Sierra? I think you'd like her at this really dark bar. Then
what's crazy is that had that not happened, I just can't think about what my life would look like. Not to be sappy, not to start crying on Maine, but like, had I like canceled on that night or bailed or you couldn't make it.
Well, given that it was freezing cold, I'm really surprised you didn't cancel.
No, I know. Because the thing about I don't fuck with the cold. If it's snowing outside, I'm inside. I do not like being cold. But I went and we got there early.
Yeah.
The backstory about we did a whole episode. And I'm like, now maybe we should tell them how we met.
Yeah.
But we have a mutual best friend, Hannah, and she invited us to this bar that is like not Hallie Rise vibe at all. Like we were the first ones there.
Yes.
And she was running late
By like 30 minutes.
by like a long time, like a very, very long. It felt like a setup at a point. I was like, wait a minute.
Is she showing up?
This is a blind date. She
is a blind date.
A blind date. So I get there first, and then you walk in, and you're like, I'm Hallie. And I was like, okay, great. You seem normal. You seem totally fine. Which, it's like easier, I think, meeting somebody in a circumstance where I know that you know someone that I've already connected with rather than like a Bumble BFF situation. Because that is terrifying.
Yeah, scary.
It's
Very
scary.
scary.
But we go into this bar and we look at the menu and everything is like
Beet juice.
fried vermouth with pickled onion
broccoli
essence.
teeny.
It was crazy.
I don't want that.
And we were like, can we get a vodka soda in here right now?
Yeah.
Is that possible right now? And the answer was no. The answer was no, you can't have that.
Here's your beet juice.
Like here's your, and you're gonna enjoy it and it's gonna be $25.
And if you are hungry, there is French onion soup on the menu.
That was great. French onion soup on the menu of this bar. I was like, there's no way they have a chef back there whipping up
And
French
first
onion
of
soup.
all, most importantly, it was so dark in there we couldn't eat soup.
So dark.
We would have spilled it everywhere.
And we were like in a corner. And it was one of those situations where the staff kind of like wants to be like intimate
Flirt.
and flirty. So the guy was like at our table, like on his knees, leaned over the table.
Yeah.
Like, and what can I get for you? And oh, do you like that?
Sierra, you look like, and I'm like, stop knowing my name.
And stop knowing my name.
You don't need to say her name ever again. Ever like that.
It was crazy. I was like, I am betrothed. You need to end it.
Go on.
End it.
Go on, boy.
But then Hannah ends up showing up, and so the night progressed. But since that, we just connected so quickly. And I just think about how different we met in January. Or was it?
January.
It was after our birthdays. And I believe it was after the New Year because I didn't know you before Christmas.
Yeah.
So January is when we met. In January, and now it's July. And we're like obsessed. We're like locked the fuck
We
in.
were together for like 7 hours
7 hours
yesterday.
yesterday. And didn't shut our mouths one time.
Not one time.
Not one time. And I was thinking about this before you came over too. I have found that a lot of my really close friends, it's been like an almost opposites attract kind of situation where we connect over whatever we connect over, but they like this certain thing that I'm just not really into, and then whatever. And like my best friend Sydney has a wall of like mushrooms in her home, which is something that would pop off, which is something that I would never do. But I love that for her. We're just very, very different. But with you and I, we are the same.
I was like, what are we different about?
No, exactly. The same human being split into two separate bodies.
Two girls.
Which is two girls, one thought. Two
girls saying exactly.
Two girls saying exactly back and forth. and that's
how we
that.
met.
And that's how we met and fell in love. And I think it's just when you go so long with having friendships where you feel connected to them and you love them, but not like there's always this like 1% of yourself that you feel like you can't be or something you can't say or shouldn't, whatever. And it's kind of like that nagging 1% where it's like, I wish I could just whatever. When you go so long with that and you think this is just what it's going to be and this is as close as I'm going to get, because 99% is pretty freaking good when you think about it. And then you meet someone where you can just literally just be. It's so refreshing.
The moment I stopped saying what, like if I was talking to a boy and I was like, oh my God, I just said this. The moment I started just screenshotting the messages and sending it versus like, and this is what I replied, and like removing the parts I didn't really want people to know that I said, is the moment a weight lifted off my shoulder to where I was like, I think this could be a friendship where she's about to know every single part of my life.
Every single part of my life.
Because for a while, I would be like, not to you, but to anyone, I'd be like, this is what I said back. But you're not going to screenshot. That's not really what I said back.
Any of it.
I said a lot more than that.
I don't know what the moment really was. I think, honestly, that it clicked in my brain that we were like locked in a serious way when we were leaving that sports bar, because we were watching, I think, hockey that night that the night that all happened. Yep. And then we were going to that other bar and everybody was just kind of being like, whatever, and you're like, well, I'm gonna walk. And I was like, not by yourself, not in this part of town, not by yourself. And we walked there, and I don't know, I think just like I was like, oh, I care so much. And I think, not that I wouldn't have walked any of my friends there, it just felt like that was the moment that it clicked for me. And I was like, I see what this situation is about to be.
Yeah. You know the moment for me, because we talked about it the other day, but it was when I did something that hurt your feelings and you like immediately told me. And that's just the moment that I was like, oh, she like actually cares and wants to be my friend. Yeah. And I actually do respect her and I actually feel so much like love for this person that I was like, this is... And I probably felt it before then because that wasn't that long ago. But that was the moment that just like everything shifted.
It just shifted. Yeah. I think that when you have conflict, so to give some backstory, Hallie and I had a little conflict and it could have festered and it could have been like a bigger deal than it really was. And I gave it a little bit. I did what I needed to do. And then I texted her and I was like, hey, this situation hurt my feelings. Here's why. I just want to tell you because I love you. And I think that if you hurt me, it's my responsibility to tell you how I feel about it. And I think that, because I was talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, what I love so much is that you were open and she was so receptive to it, and then the conversation didn't have to be any more than what it was. Yeah. And I think that when you get to have those kinds of relationships with people, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships or familial or whatever, where you can just express without feeling like you have to sugarcoat something, or like, hey, I know you probably didn't mean it this way and I'm taking it this way, but blah blah blah, but I just want to let you know that my feelings are gonna hurt, like where you have to lessen your feelings so that somebody else doesn't feel offended,
or you get so scared that you don't say anything and then weeks pass and it's like, we did this and this and you've done this week and last week you did that.
Yeah. So instead of doing that, we're just like, this is what it is. Yeah. And then we moved on from it, and it really was like nothing happened because really nothing did happen.
It wasn't like this big blowout. No. It was just like a situation that we had to talk about, and then we talked about it, and it was great. And I just think that I feel really lucky to have found, because I think that there comes a point in your adult life where you think, oh, I've just like met all of my closest people, and whatever I have now is going to be great and it's going to be fun, but it's just not going to compare. But I think that the position that we're in, like me working in the job that I do and you having the amount of freedom that you do, allows us to spend a lot of time together as if we're in a younger part of our life. Like as if we're like in college. It's like, hey, come over after class, whatever. Like we spend a lot of time together in adult friendships. That doesn't get to happen super often because people have a lot of commitments or a lot of whatever. Not saying that we're not busy. Yeah, or just like don't work from home.
Exactly. But because we do, and I think because we are very intentional about checking in with each other and spending time together, we get to have that similar closeness that somebody would feel, I think, in a younger stage of life.
Yeah, I think it's too, there's like a level of respect between us. Like when you told me how like you felt about that situation, I wasn't like, well, that's not what I meant by it, and that's not what I knew, that's how you felt, and I respected your feelings, and I wasn't like, sorry that you felt like that, like that's not my fault. And I just took it and I was like, I'm so sorry, and I completely understand where you're coming from, and that'll never happen. And then I saw her like 24 hours later, and
I
literally told her sorry again to her face. I was like, I just wanted to let you know to your face, I'm still sorry. And then we just,
and I appreciated that so, and then we grilled
it. And then we had burgers.
And those were such good burgers. Those were such good burgers later. Oh, you should make burgers. Can I come over?
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to come. Okay. I want burgers.
Oh, it's like a weekend because it's
the weekend. No, I'm coming over. Okay. We're gonna do burgers later. I'm really excited. But I think all of that to say that your friendships shouldn't be hard. I think that your friendships should take work from time and intentionality, but they shouldn't be hard and they shouldn't be complicated, and you shouldn't feel like you're pulling teeth to get somebody to listen to you or care about you, because then those people just like aren't your friends.
And that is a lesson for every relationship.
Yeah.
Friendship, familial, romantically. It shouldn't be that hard.
It shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't feel like the hardest thing you do.
Like you're scared to say something.
Shiver me timbers.
I mean,
and that just popped in. Like I had to say shiver me timbers.
I was like trying to think of something. I was like,
no, like I
arg.
had to say that. It just.
Ahoy, matey.
Is somebody gonna match my freak? The way I said shiver me timbers and you thought arg. No, because what else were you supposed to say?
I really thought, who lives in Pineapple Under the Sea?
And who lives in the pineapple under
the lore
the
of
sea?
SpongeBob is something.
SpongeBob is crazy.
That's an episode in itself.
And we'll talk about SpongeBob on another episode. But I think it's been 60 minutes of us yapping. Like absolutely yapping. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
My vision.
We covered your vision. We covered.
We can talk about one thing really, really quick.
Yeah.
I just want to look dead in the camera when I say this.
Okay.
If you have not seen the movie Challengers,
Oh my God.
I will never stop talking about
No, but so true.
Mike Feist as Art in Challengers.
Because if you haven't seen Challengers at this point, you just you need to catch up.
I can't.
You need to get with the program in a serious way.
Yeah.
Challengers was crazy.
It's so good.
When we were the ball,
Okay, they could have done without that part.
I didn't need it, and our seats were shaking because we somehow got like XD,
Crazy.
whatever the fuck, and our seats were shaking.
The same way I've been on the Challengers, I've been on the Bear.
Yeah,
And
because the thing about you and I, the thing about us together and separately, we love a hyperfixation. Love.
And it's always a boy. For why I love both of these is there's just a man in there that is going through some trauma.
Right.
And I'm just like, okay.
No, what did Taylor Swift say? I can fix them. No, really, I can.
But really,
She
I can.
and you meant that.
Travi.
Travi.
Where's my Travi?
And where is your Travi? Where is your... Also, before we go, you sent me a screenshot from Hinge earlier, and at first I didn't get it. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, he did not just.
Oh, yeah.
Let's pull up exactly what this man said.
Well, y'all are probably online. It's the Hawk Tua girl or whatever. Because you're not online, so you
I'm not
haven't
online.
seen this. There's a girl who did a Barstool interview, and it was like, he asked her something along the lines of, how do you get a man to stay? Or
Okay.
something to that effect. And she said, you give him that old Hawk Tua.
Like the visceral... I'm going to have to mute that, because that was like straight up throw up into the microphone.
Uh-huh.
So he said... No hawk tua, no talk tua. And at first I was like, what is he talking about? And then I was like, no, he did not just say that.
He will not talk to you unless you...
There's no way this man, and he looks kind of like Sid the Sloth. Respectfully.
Let me see what it looks
I
like.
love Sid the Sloth. But you know what I
The
mean?
way you're standing in front of a fraternity sign...
And you are a grown man.
And that you graduated
he's a grown man.
6 years ago.
To write a boundary of mine is no hawk to it, no talk to it. And like to mean it. And who is...
I could, and on the next episode, we could also
Yeah.
go through my Hinge.
We have to go through your Hinge on another episode.
Because that
We need to bring you back.
is crazy.
That's crazy. Your Hinge it's a scary place.
You're
Because
telling me.
men, when I look on there, I'm like, no, it can't be. And it is.
And I'm just like, where did all the good people go?
Where did they go? I can't believe my Alex on Hinge. I think I got the last good one.
Where did all the good people go?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that one, I don't think. No, what is
Oh,
that?
okay. It's old.
Well,
Where'd all the good people go?
I love that you just
only
sang
know-
the
I only
same
know that
lyric,
one.
but
I
this
only
time
know.
louder. No, we need to wrap this up. We've done enough.
We've yapped.
We've said a lot. We've yapped our asses off.
And we'll probably end this and go yap some more.
I think that, well, we're going to yap over burgers later. I'm really
that's true.
excited about that. But thanks for coming on.
Thank you for
This was so
inviting me.
fun. Do you feel less nervous now that you've done it?
I feel better.
And you see how casual
Yeah,
the whole thing
I
is?
feel better.
Because it's like just like a little camera.
Yeah.
It's not even.
Just wait for the lives, girls. I'll be there.
It's going to be. I'll be there. And maybe we should start a second podcast. And
Okay.
it's just us doing a podcast to soft
Okay.
launch our Airbnb era. We just start with another business venture that I would say is even more involved and serious, and that's starting a podcast together.
Yep.
That'd be great. The girls can be like, don't. You don't need to do that. Wrap that up.
She's gonna be like, I want her back.
They're gonna love you. They're gonna love you so
hoping.
much because I feel like I talk about you online so much, and people are like, okay,
Every time I hear my name, I'm like, ooh.
they're like, who the fuck is Hallie?
That's
Who,
me.
like, bring her on. And here you are.
That's me.
I loved this.
That was fun.
Thanks for coming on. Okay.
inviting me.
And we're going to wrap it up here. It's about time to call it a day. Thanks for tuning in and listening to our super long yap session. I hope that you really enjoyed it and took something from it. And we're going to go.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Not bye. Bye. Peace. And, well, I have to say it. I love you. And I'm on your side. And yours too.